Hello everyone, welcome to this video. I hope you are having a good day. Take a walk, drink some water, do something nice for yourself, draw something you like. The art for today is a balloon lady, or so I call this painting, which is not really a good title, but it is what it is. And I feel like this painting really actually fits the vibe of the story that I have today. There's something creepy about her that I didn't really intend to make creepy, but it just happened. And you'll see me trying a lot of different things here. I started with Clip Studio, tried some techniques and blending, couldn't really commit to one thing and was getting overwhelmed, as I often am with digital art. And I was just jumping between being satisfied and not being satisfied at all. So I was using a reference at the start, but then moved on to do my own thing. Was getting annoyed by the controls in Clip Studio, so moved to Photoshop, because it feels like home. And the balloon background was actually a very spontaneous idea that gave it that eerie vibe and definitely fits the story that I have for you today. So I am someone who has a very vivid dream life, and it's pretty much my second life, and I have experienced so much in my dreams. It's crazy. And I do get impacted by them, inspired by them and traumatized by them. And so you understand how intensely I dream. I sometimes need help from a therapist to deal with my dream experiences. I mean, it is that intense. It is very intense, and it, has always been, ever since I was a kid. It's kind of one of those God-given things, I guess, or just innate things, whatever you want to call it. And being someone with a spiritual background, however, and a bit of an explorer of the, unseen universe, I have never actually tried to discount or escape my dreams, or suppress them or medicate them. Well, sometimes, but there are different tools for that when they're needed, but for the most part, not really. So at this point, I really do often know how to utilize my dream life to benefit myself and do inner work or do therapy on myself, within the dreamscape, or just get an experience that I want. There's a lot of mixed opinions about astral travel and lucid dreams, and more scientific people lump them all into one category, saying that it all happens in your mind, and more spiritual people believe that your soul or your consciousness, or whatever you want to call it, can actually exit your body and separate from your physical form. And I fall into the latter category, mostly because I have experienced firsthand the difference in feeling and perception between astral travel and lucid dreaming. But in this video, I am mostly going to be referring to what I believe are out-of-body experiences or astral travel, and not lucid dreams where you stay within your body but are aware and can shape and influence your dream space. And I can also lucid dream and astral travel pretty often, and have done it at will a couple times just by deciding to do it. And starting to do so has definitely given me more power over my dream life. But it definitely wasn't always like this. So my out-of-body awakenings started happening spontaneously. I just started waking up in my body. It would just happen, becoming fully conscious while my body was sleeping. It would just sort of, it would just happen on some nights. And this is where a lot of people get scared and start panicking, because oftentimes the state is also referred to as sleep paralysis. It's where you feel like you can't move, but you're aware and awake. But I personally never panicked, and I don't know why. Probably because of my spiritual background. I just assumed that this is my free passage to exit my body. In a way, even I saw it as a gift. And so instead of trying to wake myself up, I just started trying to get out of my body. And at the start, it was pretty tough because I would get pulled back into my body. And it felt like there was this massive force just sucking me back into my body and trying to keep me there. And so every time I would wake up in this sleep paralysis, quote unquote, I just try sitting up or standing from outside of my body to exit into the astral realm. And every time I would still feel this fear of random entities or someone being in my room or, a shadow man. The funny thing is that there was a shadow man who kept showing up, but that's a different story. It's funny that there's a lot of advice saying that you have to stay calm all the time when you're out of body, which I think is actually total bullshit, because even now when I get out, I still check my room because I have this deep fear that there is someone. And sometimes there is. They're not all bad though. So on one of those nights when I was a newbie out-of-body traveler, I became aware of my sleeping body. And my body was laying on its side, and I just started feeling this very intense pressure on my entire astral body, like from the top. This was very similar to a very extreme case of sleep paralysis, because not only did my physical body not move, my consciousness could not move either. It felt like I was being held and tied to my body like by this almost iron blanket, and I couldn't move my astral body at all. Couldn't even move my head to the side to see what was on top of me. But I definitely felt this heavy presence on me and around me, and these feelings of anxiety and fear followed. And then I started feeling this pressure on my head. My brain felt like it was being grabbed and just squeezed. It was a very weird feeling. And the second I thought my brain and head couldn't be pressured more, it just got stronger and stronger, and it just felt like there was no end to it. And it felt like almost sucking, like it was feeding off of me. Like I felt this energy like leaving my brain. I don't know how to better explain this, but that's what it was. And so I'm laying there trying to move anything at this point, and this panic and this basic survival instinct just kicking in. And I'm trying to move my arms or my head, but it's like I'm laying in cement. My heart started beating, and distantly I could feel like my physical body reacting, but all there was this big fat entity keeping me still and just feeding off of me. So I started feeling this almost animalistic fight or flight, and I started struggling in my astral body harder. And I actually don't know if I was struggling with my physical body too. I might have been, but it's like kind of hard to tell. So against what seemed like 10 G's of force, I barely turned my face to the side and up to kind of try and see the sucker. And what I see, literally in front of my face, is this gray, hollow-looking face, kind of half transparent. Its fully white eyes just stare at me, and its mouth is like black and open, and it's like so close to me, it feels like it's about to kiss me. And it wants me to be afraid, as it's just leeching off of my head. And so in my frenzy and feeling like there was nothing that I could have done other than moving my head, I just lean back a bit to get some momentum, and I just roar at it. Just like, in like my best attempts to scare it. And with this like defensive, furious anger, and willingness to fight for my life. And this is where my new skill of scaring off entities was discovered, because they scare quite easily, surprisingly. So it jumps off of me like this tiny spooked kitten in the middle of the night, and I just jump up in bed, into this half sit, awake in the 3D dimension, drenched, and I mean drenched with cold sweat and just trembling. And I've probably never had more cold sweat on me in my entire life. Like my sheets, my pillow, everything was cold and just damp. There was no sleep after that for a couple hours, that's for sure. This was one of the most intense experiences of my non-physical life. Some spiritual protection definitely got employed after this instance, but in general it did not really deter me from continuing to explore out of body. It's not like I could stop it, because it was happening spontaneously to me. And I have definitely learned a lot on how to deal with entities since then. And the simplest tip for any of you who actually have similar experiences is that most of them are very primal beings, so they function like animals. And so a display of power or force, showing that you're bigger, works kind of to scare off most of them in the moment. Long term, I guess, not so much. But in the moment, it does the job. For me, it still is one of the most vivid and most intense negative entities I have encountered, and actually being psychically attacked and feeling my energy drained. It's such a weird experience. And I really wonder if this entity was kind of excited for a new person, learning to get out of body, just flying, just passing by and being like, ooh, free meal. Probably thought I was an easy prey, since I pretty much didn't know what I was doing back then. Just kind of trying to get out of my body properly. And I have never seen a more ghostly face in my life. The ghost stories are true. That is exactly how negative entities look like. Sounds like so cliche actually, but I guess cliches are there for a reason. And it was very bizarre for the scientific side of me. And it was well, I guess it's true. We can't tell what's happening, but it's definitely happening, and we better observe and learn from it. But as scared and shaken as I was, I definitely felt some pride at managing to scare off my first entity. It really did give me a confidence boost and some experience. Going forward, I knew what to expect and how to deal with it better, which allowed me to explore astral travel better in the future. So this is my story for today. I have a crazy amount of crazy dreams and out-of-body stories. If you're into lucid dreaming or have any fun stories, comment below, let me know. Be interesting to hear your dreams. I hope you enjoyed the art. This painting was a very long one. It's been sitting on my desktop for half a year. I couldn't decide, what technique to use, and I was just getting disappointed and putting it off. But I felt some sense of, accountability to put up a video. So at the first wave of inspiration, I managed to put my full focus on it and finish it. And I'm pretty proud of the result. Turned out well in my opinion. Better than I thought it would. I hope you learned something new, whether from my art or from my experience, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.